Namaste and welcome to another edition of Live, Love, Engage with me, Gloria Grace Rand, your host. And as always, I have a lovely guest with us on the show, and she is someone that I've met through a networking group that we both belong to. That's called Women's Prosperity Network. So before I tell you all about her and why I thought she'd be a wonderful guest for the show, let me welcome Laura Barker to Live, Love, Engage.
Thank you, Gloria. I'm so excited to be here this morning. I can't wait just to kind of talk with you about business.
Absolutely. And yeah, this Laura has got her hands in a lot of, well, not a lot, but I would say kind of two different but related worlds. And so let me tell you a little bit about her. So she's an international business owner and consultant who works with business owners to maximize their growth opportunities while minimizing risk. And she's got a lot of business acumen across a variety of industries. She's founded her own law firm. She co-founded an internationally successful retail business and consulting for a wide spectrum of businesses, including manufacturing, retail, professional service businesses, and more. She's even an author. She's got a book coming out, I believe, hopefully soon, called The Itty Bitty Book of Cybersecurity. Don't be scared, be prepared. And what we're going to start off talking about today is her advent into e-commerce and how she and her partner took an idea for a better mousetrap into and I guess the apparel space, but the sort of well, maybe accessory space might be better. But I will let Laura tell us a little bit about your product that you and your partner launched, because I think it's really, really cool. I have looked at it, and if my hair wasn't so short, I might get one. But so, now I've given it away. So I'm going to let you take it away. Tell us what this product is and how you and your partner came up with it.
Sure. Thank you for that. So the product itself is called Zazzy Bands, and that's with a Z like zebra. So Zazzy Bandz. We went a little crazy with the Z's. We've got, and there's a reason for that. So let me kind of try to back up and fill it in. The product itself is it's a better headband. Headbands traditionally are curvilinear and they pinch. They really don't make your hair look that great, and they give you a headache.
Sure.
But yet we buy them as women, right? All over the world, we continue to buy them. Why? Because really, it's the only option out there, unless you want to go with like a bandana or cloth wrap or something, right? So but if you have long hair or even medium length, there are those days you want to wear it down. You don't want to be putting it up all the time, but you want it out of your face.
Right.
Like I've got today. So, and I'm wearing one of our wonderful Zazzy Bands.
I suspected as much.
So what we did, we took the idea of, we've all seen women wearing, and maybe done it ourselves, wearing sunglasses really as a hair accessory, right? We've all kind of chuckled when we've seen women out on a gray day with sunglasses up on their head. And we know that when you put your sunglasses up, you don't have to check the mirror, right? It goes up, your hair looks great. It doesn't hurt. It's instant style, instant lift, instant satisfaction. So we really wanted to create a headband that would give that same lift, style, comfort that you get with your favorite pair of sunglasses. My partner, who is a doctor, and I'm a lawyer by trade, we really like have no business starting a hair accessory company, right? Where did that come from? So my partner, though, it really was her idea, and then we've grown the business together. But her original idea, what was this? Because she had a need. She had gone from private practice, where she'd always kept her hair short, to leaving private practice and going into just doing hospital work, and she decided to let her hair grow out. Well, it was driving her crazy, and she's constantly flicking it back. Well, you can't do that as a doctor, during a procedure. You just can't. So she had the desire to have something better, and kind of had this realization that, why can't I just wear, and she was already like wearing her readers on her head and having her readers on, and getting teased. And so she thought, we've just got to do better than this. And she kind of came up with this idea. So then we got into research and development. How do you get a product from up here in your head, in your hair, in your brain, to production and in the marketplace, right? And neither one of us had any kind of e-commerce business experience, right? I mean, she's had a medical practice, I've had a legal practice, I've had other businesses, and actually so has she, for that matter, but never e-commerce in the way that we were going to try to build this business. So it was there were so many unknowns from the very beginning. But we started with going to Home Depot and buying materials that we thought we could use to hand make our idea, right? Because you got to start somewhere. So literally,
absolutely.
That's where we started, was Home Depot and Joann's Fabrics and things like that. Well, a really funny part of this story that I left to tell is about my husband. He's an engineer, and he is mostly bald. And one day he came home to find me at the living room table with all this stuff I'd gotten from Home Depot, trying to figure out how to make what I wanted, right? And I'm really not the most crafty person in the world. So he comes home and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I explained, "Hey, we've got this idea." Yeah. So anyway, being an engineer and a helpful husband, I later come home on another day and find him at the dining room table with something on his head that resembles a headband. And he had his little welding stuff out. He was getting different kinds of materials and really digging into this. So long story long, we ended up coming up with a design. We ended up going into 3D printing for prototypes. So look, if any of you folks out there are thinking about a product that's in your head, 3D printing is a phenomenal option to start getting some prototypes developed that is not, not going to bankrupt you when you're trying to do that kind of development. We must have gone through 25 iterations, literally, before coming to the one we settled on, which is what we're selling now.
Wow. How did you find a 3D printer to even be able to do that?
Right? I didn't even know about 3D printing, but I was networking, right? How important is it to network? That I just can't say enough about networking. So I was at a networking meeting, and somebody stood up and gave their 60-second pitch, and they worked for a company that did 3D printing. And I said, "I have got to talk to you." So we did, had lunch and started that process. And then as we got more into it, we ended up partnering with a high school science teacher who had come from industry. So he really was sophisticated. Those students were so lucky to have him. And he had managed to get a pretty high level 3D printing machine for the high school.
Oh my, wow.
So yeah, so we partnered with them. It was the students helped work on the project, but really it was the engineers that put it together. I do have to be real about that. But it was a great project for the students. It was a great collaboration for us. And we ended up with the 3D CAD design that we went to market with. And I've got a few examples here of the kind of the finished product. So we have bands that are just sort of, your basic plain plastic, right? But notice, they don't look like a headband, do they?
No, they don't. They definitely look like glasses without the lenses.
Exactly.
Essentially. Yeah.
Exactly. And so this is just plain, but we bling it up. We like to have fun with it, right? So we have, oh my gosh, probably hundreds of different designs on our website. But we ended up going to market, but not until after we had secured patents.
Yeah.
We knew our idea was really unique, and we were not going to put it out there in the marketplace until we had those patents. And so we got patents, and that was a adventure all in and of itself. Even though I'm an attorney, I knew patent attorneys, but I didn't know anything about patent law. So we hooked up with a really fine patent firm in our city, and they're still our patent attorneys, years later now, and continue to do a phenomenal job for us. So once we got our patents, and we actually have, I think, 4 patents on the design patent, and then, on the utility patent. There are 2 types of patents, design and utility anyway.
Right.
So it's very difficult to get a patent, especially in a space like headbands, because they've been around for so long. So to distinguish yourself is really quite the challenge. But what did it for us, and what really got us approved, was our unique angle. This is the magic right here. So this is what, my husband really helped us carve out, as well as the engineer at the school. And, we had a couple other engineers along the way. And then what it does, what we've discovered, it really does mimic what your sunglasses do by giving you lift and style, no headache, which was our goal. And I can tell you, we get feedback from our customers, and the ones that really lift my heart so much are from the women who say, I've got migraines and I've never been able to wear headbands, or I suffer from headaches, and this is the best thing since sliced bread. And I like to say too that it's the women's version of a ball cap. If you're having a bad hair day, right? What's a man do?
That's right.
They ball cap, right?
That's right.
For women, it is just so easy. If I was having a bad hair day, or even if I'm not, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
It is super simple, right? So, yeah, we just have gone from, we've made all the mistakes you could make, and then some. We've hired the wrong marketing firm, and been burned. We've made decisions that in hindsight were just like not the right direction. But, really, it comes down to perseverance and faith for us. So we are both women of faith, and have used our reliance on the Lord to guide us. And when we would run into a brick wall, Gloria, we would just stop and say, okay, if you want us to go forward, you got to show us, because we don't know what to do. And every time a door would open up. And let me back up a minute and say something about why we started this business.
Yeah.
We did not start this business because we had a burning desire to own a hair accessory company. Okay. That was just not in our life plan. Not at all. So, but what we did see when, thinking about this, was an opportunity that if we could grow this into something, right, then we would have an opportunity to really provide some meaningful support for an orphanage in Zimbabwe. My over to this orphanage and helping them, and I had fallen in love with them as well. And we just thought maybe we could do something big here. And so from day one, from product one, from the first one of these we sold, we have given a portion of our proceeds to the orphanage.
That's
and
wonderful.
I am happy to report now that we are being distributed. We have distributors in 24 countries. Now. We are we drop ship all over the world, where we of course have our website. We're on Amazon, we're on Etsy, wherever, we're on Instagram, Facebook. We try to cover the bases. And the orphanage, though, is what has pushed us through. When you hit a hard spot, it's all worth it when you realize who you're helping and how much. We just had an opportunity this year. We've just completed our biggest project for the orphanage. This is such a horrible story, but it has a good ending, so it's okay. In January of this year, some thieves came in and stole all of the copper wiring at the orphanage.
Oh no.
I just can't even, but I really hesitate to judge though, because honestly, those thieves are probably in a pretty bad place also.
Yeah, most likely.
Nonetheless, that meant for our kids, right, that they were without power and water several months, Gloria.
Oh man.
So part of my role with the company is working with the director of the orphanage. And I said to Gideon, just, hey, let us know what kind of solutions are possible, because you can't, it's not like in Zimbabwe, you can just call up and get somebody down there the next day to fix it. It just doesn't work that way. But he had a brilliant idea, which was to get solar panels for the orphanage.
Oh, there you go. That's a good idea.
Right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to steal these.
Right. Yeah.
They're not going to climb up on top.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So he was able to, he got the workers lined up and whatnot and got us a quote. And and I told him, I don't know, I had no idea, right, what this would cost to get done.
Right.
But I said, we will do what we can. Well, we were able to fund the entire project.
Oh, nice.
And in, I guess, May, he sent us pictures of the orphanage with the solar panels on top, and the real blessing, the real silver lining in this story with, you think, oh, thieves coming in and this is horrible, right? Had they not come in, the orphanage would still be on the local utility or electricity or whatever,
Yeah,
which frankly was not that reliable. Right?
I mean, yeah, and probably more costly too. I would imagine this is going to, and ultimately is going to be much more efficient cost-wise for them too.
Absolutely. And now they have, water and power 24/7 that isn't going to be stolen or shut down by the government or who knows what, so it really has provided more stability for them. My big dream for the orphanage, and I don't know even if this is their dream, so I really need to check with them. But my dream is to build them a new facility. So the facility they have is pretty nice. I mean, they do a great job, maintaining it and all. But I think, we could do a lot in terms of just like the infrastructure for the building and having computer connections throughout and, things like that.
Yeah.
And then maybe providing, more bedroom space and allow them to take on more kids if possible. Now, the nice thing about this orphanage is that they really have a focus, and their desire is to turn these wonderful children into leaders. And we're seeing it happen. Nice. So they make sure that these kids are able to go to school. And that's a lot of what our support helps with. If every purchase of one of our bands pays for 1 day of education for a child. So we just, every time one of these goes out, I just think about that. It's like, yes.
That's amazing.
So and e-commerce is just, it's a whole different world than anything else.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I just wanted to, you shared so much wonderful stuff, but for those of us who are listening, who might not have grasped the why the shape of this is a little bit different, because when you were talking about your husband helping you engineer it, so there's like sort of an indentation on either side of it. So it's it's more of a square shape than your typical round, headband shape. And so there's a little indentation on either side of it, so that they look more like a pair of sunglasses or glasses or something instead. So it's very cool. And and I was one of those people that when my hair was a little bit longer, that I definitely had headbands that would give me headaches. There's some of them, they have those little little comb things in a way, it's supposed to like stick into your head, and they stick into your head all right, they give you a headache instead. Right. So it's not cool. Now you've got another business. And in fact, for those of you who are not watching, you wouldn't be able to see that, that the name of her company is called Barker Business Solutions, and she has her name right above her on the video that I'm able to see. So did that business come about after or before Zazzy Bands, and has it helped you in the growth of your business? And so tell us a little bit about this side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zazzy Bands came about first, but
Mhm.
about a year before I started my solutions business. And I started my solutions business primarily as a voluntary benefits company to provide benefits for employees
Okay.
that work at companies, bring them discounted programs that, and I focused, being a lawyer, I focused on legal access plans. So I work with a company called Legal Shield, and we
Oh, yeah.
provide a lot of protection for people all over the country and in Canada.
Mhm.
But that expanded pretty quickly into a fuller solutions business where I am able to provide strategic consulting for business owners, from solopreneurs to small business owners, to make sure that they've got the legal foundation that they need for sustainable business, that make sure that they've got systems in place, a marketing plan, a business plan, really just covering the bases. And then it's expanded into something I truly dearly love, which is teaching.
Yeah.
I've taught at the law school. I've taught, student teacher. I've been teaching probably, well, you know what? I can remember playing teacher, right? Playing school with my
Yeah.
kids in the neighborhood. And of course, I was always the teacher, right? I was never the student. I always wanted to be doing the sharing of what I knew.
Yeah.
So that has just blossomed into business for me now. And I have begun offering LinkedIn master classes, because I have found, so LinkedIn has helped build Zazzy Bands and Business Solutions.
Ah, interesting.
LinkedIn is a phenomenal resource if you're in business, because everybody on there is in business.
Hmm.
Everybody there is interested in building businesses. And even if someone's there works with a corporation, they're working on building that corporate business, So
That's
there
true.
really is, it's almost a giant warm market, if you will. But you do have to know how to use it. It is not like Facebook, and people who try to make that transition from Facebook to LinkedIn without understanding the differences will probably come away from it saying LinkedIn is horrible, because it's not the same.
Yeah.
But once you are able to do it, learn how to use it, then it really can be your best friend. So the solutions business, be it from learning how to use LinkedIn for myself, from really learning about marketing, because I was never, as an attorney, we don't market, or we didn't. They do now, right? But
Yeah.
I'm old. And back in the day when I practiced, no attorney would even think about advertising. I mean, in fact, it was not even allowed in most
Oh,
circumstances. So not only did you not think about it, you would be punished if you tried to do something like that. But things change, times change, and they advertise all the time now. But for me, I didn't know anything about marketing or any of that. So I really went into a period of self-education, reading everything I could, and I still do. I'm one of those people, I love learning. I hope I never stop learning. So each of my businesses has informed the other. The marketing principles really are the same in the big picture. Now they get different in the weeds, of course, but
Right. Yeah.
but the overall picture of marketing, those principles tend to be very similar, regardless. It's just the application. So they've worked very synergistically together.
That's amazing. Now, I must say I was a little surprised in hearing you say that LinkedIn was good for the e-commerce business, but I guess it's more for not necessarily for getting customers, but more for relationships to help you with the business. Would that be correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a perfect example of that. We were I am on LinkedIn every day and, doing various searches for the right connections, because you don't want to connect to just everybody. That's not the goal. The
Right.
goal is to connect with people that make sense for your business. So had been doing some searches on to help build our wholesale division, because we also have, so we sell retail, but we also have a wholesale division, and that's where those distributors in those other countries and in the US come into
Okay.
play. They order in bulk from us and then resell at their stores. Well, wanted to always expanding that division, and LinkedIn is the perfect place for that. Just as you mentioned, those relationships are key. And recently we partnered with a very neat wholesale platform that connects boutique boutiques, salons, the exact kind of market that we're looking to get our bands in, connects those smaller stores, small businesses, whether they're e-commerce or brick and mortar, connects them with product providers like ourselves. And so we partnered with them, and we just began this. So but it's looking like it's going to be a really good partnership. They do things like chip in free shipping for our international partners.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Savings.
Like huge. And another example of that, logistics is always an issue in e-commerce, for sure, in terms of shipping and inventory management and all of that. And so just been able to get some really good partners as a result of LinkedIn. But you're right, I don't sell Zazzy Bandz the product on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
It is about those relationships. Now, on the other hand, Barker Business Solutions, I absolutely do get clients on LinkedIn for my strategic consulting, my LinkedIn courses, and the like. So kind of depends on what your business is, what your target market is, and what your goals are. But if you're in business, LinkedIn most likely has something to offer you.
Good words of advice. And yeah, and I know that for selling a product, that's obviously why you're on Instagram, because that's such a visual medium, and that would be the perfect place for you to be able to advertise. Do you, I know we're probably getting a little off track, but I know that I'm always hearing about like influencers and things like that. Do you like try to connect with influencers on Instagram then
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's not off track at all. That is right on target. We absolutely do. In fact, we have a phenomenal group of influencers that we work with on Instagram primarily. And really, we have a phenomenal marketing director. Okay, that was one of the best things we did, was hire somebody full-time for that instead of trying to outsource it. And Melissa Whitley is her name, and I just shout out to her because she really does a phenomenal job. And what she did when she first started working with us was to grow our Instagram presence. She did it all organically, which is really important. You just have to have that personal touch, and that's what she did. And we have well over 25,000 followers on Instagram in less than a couple years.
Nice.
She grew that organically from practically nothing to tens of thousands. And as a result of that, influencers started approaching us.
That's a nice feeling.
I would really like to share your product. And what we discovered, Gloria, and I would say this to all the listeners, sometimes you don't know who your target market is, but they will find you. And that's exactly what happened with us. We got on Instagram, started putting out the product, and discovered this community of women with really curly hair. And if you hashtag CGM, that stands for Curly Girl Methods. And so there's this entire community, and they have adopted Zazzy Bandz like nobody's business. I mean, we love them. And the nice thing about influencers is that it really is a win-win. They support us, but we support them. We make sure we tag them in our posts when it's relevant, and they do the same for us. So I love that. That's the best kind of relationship. So yes, influencers, absolutely. And once we kind of learned how that worked, because we did have to learn.
Yeah.
We definitely pursue them now as well, not just wait for them to come to us.
Right. Wow. I can see that you are absolutely a teacher, and you could be giving master classes on like all aspects of business because you have a wealth of knowledge. And I'm sure everyone listening today has just been like mind blown of all the things you've been able to share today. So thank you so much. I'm so glad that we connected, and we connected on Facebook.
Yep.
But through our networking organization as well. So there's lots of lessons in this episode today that I'll make sure that we can share and point out on the show notes, but the importance of networking, the importance of getting help, and not trying to do it all alone, and just because there's so much to learn on all these different fronts. So, and even hiring someone to manage your marketing, I think that's a smart step too, because you can't do everything yourself, and especially if you want to grow.
And we had outsourced it prior to hiring Melissa, and it just didn't work. We needed somebody who was as invested in our belief, in our mission as we were. And, that's not easy to find. And I don't think it's easy to find in a company that you're outsourcing to. Now, on the other hand, we've got some great outsourcing partners for our email marketing, for example, and our Facebook marketing, but Melissa is kind of the overseer of all of that. But when you get to a point where you can have someone internally, that is a huge help, has been a huge help to us, and I would recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if someone listening to this is, wants to know more about either Zazzy Bandz or Barker Business Solutions, what's the best way? How can they connect to you and learn more about you?
Sure, thank you. Well, of course, I have to say, you could always go to LinkedIn and type in Laura Barker, JD, and you'll find me. And JD, by the way, I know y'all can't see that, but that's for Juris Doctor, since I'm an attorney. Just a way to put my name on LinkedIn and not be the 100 other Laura Barkers.
That's true. Good point.
And so LinkedIn is one way. You can also go for Zazzy Bandz. It is easy. It's just zazzybands.com. ZAZZYBANDZ.com. And you will find us there with all of our specials going on right now. We have a lot of exciting new designs that have just come out, and lots of pictures. And by the way, when you go to that website, just as a kind of little fun tip, all of the pictures of women wearing our headbands are pictures that were sent to us voluntarily from our customers.
Wonderful.
None of them are models, even though many of them look like absolute beautiful models, right? But they're just women who really enjoy the product. So that's kind of been fun to cultivate that. And then for Barker Business Solutions, I would like to say, if you've been thinking about growing your presence on LinkedIn or wondering if it can work for you, I've put together a complimentary ebook on how to make sure your profile is going to do some heavy lifting for you, because on LinkedIn, it is all about your profile. So if somebody wants to get that book, and it's free, you just go to barkerbusinesssolutions.com. And then you can just get that free ebook and get your profile in tip-top shape.
All right. Good deal. Good deal. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And like I said, I'm very glad that we've connected, and I've learned a lot from you myself today. And I know everybody listening and watching has as well. So thank you so much for being with us today, Laura.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. If you can't tell already, I love talking about business. It's in my blood, and I will just continue to do it for as long as I can.
Absolutely. Yes. You could, for those of you who are not watching this, I bet you can still hear the smile in her voice, because she smiles a lot, and you've got a beautiful smile. And yes, I can tell you love what you do. And that's so important. It's so important to be able to have that. So,
it is. Thank you
so
Laura.
much. And thank all of you for listening and for watching. And I appreciate when you leave comments on either my YouTube videos or on Apple or Spotify. It's great to hear that. So continue to do that. I appreciate that. And until next time, as always, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.